Tonight, the countdown to the US election. Early claims of election fraud from Donald Trump, while Kamala Harris targets the swing state of Michigan. Hello, I'm Jessica Harmsen, live from Adelaide. This is ABC News. Also tonight, how a battle for the black market trade of tobacco has ignited across SA. Permission to launch, the green light given for rockets on the Eyre Peninsula. And Australia on top against Pakistan in the first men's clash of the summer. Donald Trump has delivered an inflammatory and conspiracy-laden speech during a campaign stop in Pennsylvania. The former president repeatedly cast doubt on the integrity of the vote and at one point even talked about reporters being shot. North America correspondent Carrington Clark reports from Pennsylvania.
In safely red territory, Donald Trump's battleground strategy was playing to his audience.
I'm not worried about these people.
Proudly veering off script, he ratcheted up claims that the election will be rigged.
They are fighting so hard to steal this damn thing. Look at what's going on. Look at what's going on in your state.
Pennsylvania has become a focus of the former president's last-minute campaign stops and allegations of election fraud.
I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well. We had such a great. So now
there are some election-related investigations already underway, including whether around 2,500 registration forms in the state are legitimate. Authorities say the fact potential problems were detected proves the system works.
I would ask, in particular, people who have not yet voted, to not fall for his tactic, which I think includes suggesting to people that if they vote, their vote won't matter.
Trump supporters aren't convinced.
I believe he's going to get elected.
How confident are you in that?
I'm very confident as long as a certain side does not cheat.
I'm a little nervous. I just keep hearing stuff on the news about ballots.
Donald Trump also took aim at the media.
And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much, 'cause I don't mind.
Now, this part of Pennsylvania is deep red Republican, but what we witnessed today were thousands of Donald Trump supporters coming out in support of their candidate. And so central to Donald Trump's campaign, both for Pennsylvania and for the country, is this part of the state that he's going to be holding a second rally just down the road, about 30 minutes tomorrow. Trump arrived late for his stops in North Carolina and Georgia, two critical states if he has a realistic chance of returning to the White House. His team will be desperately hoping he stays on time and on topic for the final day of the campaign. Carrington Clark, ABC News, Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
And as Mr Trump digs up old grievances, authorities are preparing for any attempt by the former president to seize power. Here's Global Affairs editor John Lyons.
As we get closer to the finish line, Donald Trump is escalating his rhetoric, claiming widespread cheating in the election process. There's no evidence for this, but the tactic is no surprise, given he never accepted the results in 2020. So, Donald Trump may well cry foul on election night and not accept the results again. The key difference this time, he's not president and doesn't have the same power levers available to him. However, authorities are taking no chances. They're fortifying institutions and protecting election officials, and will do everything in their power to prevent a repeat of January 6.
Kamala Harris made her pitch for the US presidency in the battleground state of Michigan. Opinion polls continue to suggest a tight finish, but the Vice President says momentum is on her side. North America correspondent Jade McMillan reports from East Lansing, Michigan.
Pausing to worship.
God will thank you. On Tuesday, we'll thank you.
And preaching her message.
So, church, we have 2 days. 2 days until we decide the fate of our nation.
Kamala Harris swung through Michigan, which along with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin form part of the so-called blue wall that could provide her clearest path to victory. A last-minute flurry of opinion polls suggests the race for the White House is still neck and neck, although a respected pollster caught attention with a survey pointing to a surge in female support for the Vice President in Iowa, a state Donald Trump has twice won easily.
A fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election, that I'm 3 points down. I'm not down in Iowa.
Kamala Harris's supporters in Michigan hope it's a sign of a broader trend.
I really think that women are going to be the voting bloc that carries her over the top.
Most people assume that women vote for her just because she's another woman. No, it's so much more than that. She has things in plan that are going to protect us as women, but also as people of color.
The Vice President is also trying to appeal to the state's Arab American community, which is warning of a backlash at the ballot box over her administration's handling of the conflicts in the Middle East.
It is devastating, and as president, I will do everything in my power to end the war in Gaza.
But she quickly moved on to a more optimistic tone.
We have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it?
There's a real sense in this room that Kamala Harris could be on the verge of making history. But success in Michigan is far from guaranteed. The race here and the contest more widely still considered too close to call.
And when we fight, we win. God bless.
The end to a tumultuous campaign almost in sight. Jade McMillan, ABC News, East Lansing, Michigan.
8 people have been taken to hospital after a crash involving a truck and 3 cars on the Fleurieu Peninsula. The truck collided with a ute and 2 other vehicles on Main South Road at Wattle Flat just after midday. 2 people were airlifted to hospital. 6 others were driven by ambulance to Flinders Medical Centre. The road remains closed between Maiponga and Yankalilla as investigations continue. Police are urging people to avoid the area. The state government has promised to fund a 4th 24-hour pharmacy in suburban Adelaide. The government says 120,000 people have visited the existing 3 locations during their extended hours since they opened in February. The exact location of the next 24-hour pharmacy hasn't been confirmed, but it's likely to be in either Hallett Cove, Shido Park or Trott Park. They're suburbs that sit in the electorate of Black, where voters will go to the polls later this month to select a replacement for former Liberal leader David Spears.
So where we see a policy work, we want to make sure we roll it out in other areas.
While we support 24-hour pharmacies, we do question the timing.
A rocket launching base at Whalers Way on South Australia's Eyre Peninsula has been given final approval. It means rockets could be launched from the site as soon as the end of next year. The project has been in the works for more than 5 years and faced significant opposition from environmental groups and some local residents. The federal government gave the project the green light last week and the state government announced its approval today.
We are over the moon to have the site approved, meaning that we can bring a new industry to the Lower Eyre Peninsula, to South Australia and to Australia more broadly.
Labor's pitch to wipe $16 billion of student loan debt hits stiff opposition in Parliament today, with the coalition describing it as a terrible and irresponsible plan. But as the federal government insisted it will ease cost of living pressures for millions of young Australians, the issue of Qantas upgrades reared its head again. Political reporter Stephanie Dalzell has the story.
A study in selfie skills. The Prime Minister positioning for a poll date, still not in focus.
I hope I got it.
Anthony Albanese at Parliament with TAFE and university students on the back of a higher education pre-election pitch, which includes wiping 20% of student loan debt. Hugely significant for some.
$11,400. Oh, you've already done the calculation.
Others, less enthused.
It's unfair. You could have used that money much better.
With the coalition arguing that at a cost of $16 billion, it's bad policy.
This is a terrible economic decision, incredibly irresponsible, that essentially transfers student debt to other taxpayers.
We make no apology for doing everything we can to relieve that financial pressure.
3, 2, 1.
From higher education benefits to flight benefits, the Prime Minister's struggling to shake attention over flight upgrades and his relationship with former Qantas CEO Alan Joyce. He flatly denies asking for any upgrades and says he's not aware of his staff asking for any on his behalf either.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Not to your knowledge, again, that's...
These upgrades, you're talking about a 30-year period.
Some independents announcing they've relinquished their memberships to the exclusive Qantas Chairman's Lounge.
There is a deep suspicion that if politicians are getting secret freebies, that it might influence their decisions.
Transparency was a key feature of the last election, and in the lead up to this one, some politicians are sniffing the wind, noting the public distaste for political perks and quickly moving to create distance. But opposition leader Peter Dutton's pursuit of the matter has gone cold. After last week suggesting the Prime Minister should be referred to the corruption watchdog, today, not a single question on the issue from the opposition benches. Stephanie Dalzell, ABC News, Canberra.
Lending restrictions could be eased to allow first home buyers to borrow more to break into the market. That's what a federal inquiry is looking at, and some of the big banks support a change. But the banking regulator says the rules are in place for a reason.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's
for first home buyers like Cassie McLaren, breaking into the property market is getting harder.
The lending criteria right now is extremely stringent. I feel like there are so many things that we can't possibly meet.
Lenders must apply a serviceability buffer to mortgages. Currently, that's 3%, meaning the lender has to test a person's ability to repay the loan at 3% above the variable rate they're being offered. But the politician heading a Senate inquiry into home ownership says it's time to lower that buffer.
Well, the Australian dream is falling out of reach for millennials and for Gen Zs. One of the reasons is that the lending laws are very rigid and blunt.
Some of Australia's big banks, including ANZ and National Australia Bank, as well as the big bank lobby group, also want changes.
Current obligations for assessing a first home buyer's serviceability don't account for their stronger income growth potential compared to other borrowers.
Reducing the buffer will boost the profits of banks and their lending while piling up risk and hazard for some of the most vulnerable people looking for buying a house in the Australian community.
The nation's banking regulator, APRA, also wants the buffer to stay where it is. It told the Senate inquiry that Australian households already hold a lot of debt compared to what they earn, and the buffer is there to protect financial stability.
Go get it.
Cassie's parents are helping her with a deposit to get on the property ladder, but other first home buyers might not be so fortunate. Nassim Khadem, ABC News.
Illegal tobacco and vapes have become big business for major crime syndicates in Australia. The battle over the black market trade has been waging in the eastern states in recent years, and now it's jumped the border into South Australia. State authorities are changing laws and investing millions to tackle the issue, but some say it needs a national approach. Meanwhile, there are a growing number of innocent bystanders being caught in the crossfire. Emma Masters in South Australia and Oliver Brown in New South Wales have this joint Stateline story.
It's every small business owner's worst nightmare.
So this used to be our main office where we used to meet client, and it used to have computer, which you can see it's all broken down.
A homemade firebomb incinerated this office last month, leaving Sam Pandy and his partner Muriel with nothing but heartache.
I used to sit there. Now every morning now when I wake up, I feel like, oh, I have to go to office. But and then I realize I don't have office. Then that makes me so emotional.
Police believe this attack was targeting the tobacco store next door. It's one of a spate of arson hits on smoke shops in Adelaide that have escalated in recent months. To date, 19 stores and vehicles have been firebombed. SA Police say the attacks are intimidation tactics from 3 crime syndicates, battling to control a national black market in illegal tobacco and vapes.
These criminal networks have established premises in South Australia, so they're looking to ensure that they are getting the lion's share of the market or leveraging some form of payment from those stores that are not selling their product.
I've just come from one of 200 tobacco stores, many newly established here in Adelaide. There you can buy smokes under the counter for $20 a packet, compared to legal smokes at triple that price. Retailers say that now 1 in 3 packets bought by Australians is illegal.
The reason we have the tobacco wars playing out all around the country is due to failed federal policy on the tobacco excise, as well as the effective prohibition of vaping products.
These sentiments part of a growing call to reduce federal tax on tobacco.
We don't necessarily want to reduce excise and encourage people to start smoking again. It's still the leading cause of preventable death in Australia.
Instead, the SA government has invested $16 million in a major police and consumer affairs operation. It's also targeting illegal sellers, boosting powers to shut down stores and increase fines up to $1.5 million.
This stretch of highway near the border of SA and New South Wales has become a focus for police here in Broken Hill as they try to stop the trucking of illegal tobacco, most of which has made its way from overseas and is running the gauntlet across state borders.
In the last 6 months, we've had 7 or 8 seizures at both commercial premises and also seizures on the highway.
The seizures worth millions of dollars. In SA, police recently stopped a series of trucks on their roads and all those arrested were from interstate. The trucks aren't just supplying major cities.
Each time we take one out of play, another one pops up.
It's clearly evident that we do have illicit tobacco shops establishing in the regions.
And there are concerns that if battles are waged state by state, winning the national war is unlikely.
We need a coordinated effort to be able to tackle this with one licensing system, with one enforcement agency.
While those caught in the crossfire try to pick up the pieces.
We just don't want to be another business who just go down into administration because of this kind of incident. So that is so we are trying to fight, we are trying to survive, we are trying to, uphold ourselves.
And also hoping the next casualty won't be human life. Oliver Brown, ABC News.
Coming up on 7:30 with Laura Tingle, the 3D printers being used to create ghost guns.
This is a self-loading, semi-automatic weapon.
Yes, that's correct.
And most of this weapon has been 3D printed.
Yes, majority of this weapon's 3D printed.
They have found usage amongst criminals, amongst terrorists, amongst extremists, and amongst insurgents.
We regulate spray cans for graffiti, so I'm pretty sure we can find a way to regulate 3D printers for metal if we need to.
At least 31 people have been killed in Gaza, according to Palestinian medics, as Israeli strikes continue in the region. In Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, a single strike killed 8 Palestinians, including 4 children. Another 13 people were killed in the north, where Israel's military says it wants to prevent a regrouping of the militant group Hamas. Gazan health authorities say the military offensive over the weekend interrupted efforts to vaccinate thousands of children against polio, claiming a clinic was struck by an Israeli drone. Israel's military has denied the claim. The King and Queen of Spain have been pelted with mud by angry protesters during a visit to flood-ravaged parts of the country. More than 200 people died in the flooding, and residents are furious with the government's response to the disaster.
Chants of murderer, murderer greet this official tour of devastated Playa Porta.
Don't protect him, they are killing us.
More than 60 people died here, making it one of the hardest hit districts of Valencia. Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, is quickly escorted to safety. King Felipe and Queen Letizia, surrounded by guards, continue into the fray to try and console the weary and hear their grievances firsthand.
It was known, and nobody did anything to avoid it.
Please, the dead are still in the garages. The families are looking for their relatives and friends. Please come. We only ask for help.
The Queen moved to tears. These men try to assure her this anger is not aimed at you. It's not just the royal family facing backlash. The fury is being felt by the Spanish government. Residents say they received insufficient warning prior to the flood and a slow response in the aftermath.
We are not going to deviate, despite what may happen with some absolutely marginal, violent people.
We have to give them hope, attend to the emergency, but also give them hope.
For many, little hope remains. Firefighters and divers here work to drain a flooded underground car park. More than a dozen people are feared dead inside. In the evening, away from royalty and the heads of government, people express their anger with a traditional cacerolazo, a demonstration of banging pots and pans, trying to hit them hard enough to be heard in Madrid. Matthew Lane, ABC News.
At least 10 people have died in Indonesia after a powerful volcanic eruption on the island of Flores. The eruption in the early hours of the morning was so powerful it propelled rocks and lava as far as 4 kilometres from the crater. 6 people killed were in a building that was engulfed by lava. Authorities have evacuated thousands of residents and created a 7-kilometre buffer zone, fearful there's more to come. On to finance now, and strong gains by the banks got the week off to a solid start on the local share market today. Here's Alan Kohler.
Apart from a certain election, there are 2 other big events this week. Interest rate decisions. The first is the Reserve Bank of Australia tomorrow, and if there was a glimmer of hope for a rate cut, it would have been snuffed out by today's job ads data for October, up 0.3%. Now, the number of ads is down 16% from the peak, but it's still above where it was before the pandemic. Fact is, Australia's job market is strong, and the RBA won't be cutting interest rates until it isn't. And that's despite the fact that Australian families are having a recession. Now, this chart shows the volume or amount of retail trade and the value or cost of it. Basically, we're buying less stuff, but paying the same. But there will be a rate cut in America on Thursday because the job market there is weak. New jobs in October were only 12,000 versus 100,000 forecast by economists. Foreign exchange traders didn't know whether to bid the Aussie dollar up or sell it down, so they didn't either, and it stayed at 66 US cents. The share market rose 0.5% because of gains by the banks. Mineral resources fell nearly 10% after the board said founder and CEO Chris Ellison had not acted with integrity, that his behaviour was profoundly disappointing and required sanction and penalty. So he has to pack his cardboard box and leave in 12 to 18 months' time. So no hurry. Take your time. Global markets all rose over the weekend and today in the US, Europe and China. And on commodity markets, oil, iron ore and gold fell while base metals went up. And that's finance.
Australia is chasing 204 for victory against Pakistan after Mitchell Starc led an impressive bowling display in the first one-day international at the MCG. Starc struck early, removing both Pakistan openers as he finished with 3 for 33 from his 10 overs. Pat Cummins and Adam Zampa each claimed 2 wickets. Tail-ender Naseem Shah added some respectability to the tourists' total, scoring 40 from 39 balls before he was the last wicket to fall. The teams will play 3 50-over games before moving to a T20 series. The Victoria Derby winning Gold Rush guru has been welcomed back to South Australia, a champion horse, after taking out the famous race at Flemington on Saturday. The colt was ridden to victory by South Australian Jamie Carr, who became just the second female jockey to win the Derby after Claire Lindop won the Rebel Rider in 2008. Both those races were influenced by part owner and breeder Harry Perks, with Saturday's race making his 3rd Group 1 Derby win. Perks says it's always an achievement to have South Australians involved in big wins on the Victorian stage.
There's nothing better than coming to Victoria, winning a big race and taking that Victorian money back to South Australia. So yes, it's a challenge, of course, but if you've got a good enough horse, it's not that far away.
Mark Zahra is out to make history tomorrow when he tries to become just the second jockey to claim a hat-trick of the Melbourne Cup wins. But it's a tough ask, with champion trainer Chris Waller having 5 runners in the event, which is for the very first time will feature 4 female riders.
164 years of a well-known story.
A race that you'll be asked, have you won the Melbourne Cup for the rest of your life?
A parade of champions from Brew to Prince of Penzance, names etched in the history of the Melbourne Cup, but none more so than the great 3-time winner Makybe Diva. Tomorrow, Mark Zahra will hope to become the second jockey to win the Cup 3 years in a row, having won in 2022 on Gold Trip and then last year on Without a Fight. But he'll face a fight on board Circle of Fire, with champion trainer Chris Waller fielding 5 runners, including Buckaroo, who'll start from barrier 21, only 5 times has a horse won from there.
There's no fairer race, and I think barrier draws are a talking point pre-race.
The local contingent might have the hometown advantage, but you only need to look as far as the travelling media to see the international attraction is just as strong.
Well, it's one of the world's most famous races, and if I can get one of those under my belt before I die, that wouldn't be too bad.
Holly Doyle landing in Melbourne this afternoon and will ride her luck from barrier 1, just as Michelle Payne did when she became the first ever female winner. But Winona Constant has other plans.
I won't settle for second and third. I just want the win out there.
The pair are 2 of the 4 females making history before the race even starts.
We're just the same as everyone now. They're not male or female. We're all just jockeys.
It's empty today as ground staff work tirelessly to put the final touches on Flemington. But come tomorrow, more than 90,000 people will flock here to watch the great race that stops the nation. And as old as the event is, some things never change. Kerrin McAvoy is just one of them, chasing his 4th win 6 years after his last.
I think Absurd's got a great chance. He's travelled out well, and it's a really open race this year.
Alexia Pesce, ABC News.
Max Verstappen has moved closer to a 4th straight Formula One World Championship after winning a dramatic Grand Prix in Sao Paulo. Verstappen's championship rival Lando Norris was on pole position but finished 6th and is 62 points behind Verstappen with 3 races remaining. Australia's Oscar Piastri finished 8th. German Nico Hülkenberg was disqualified for receiving assistance from marshals before rejoining the race. After starting from 17th, Verstappen was victorious ahead of Alpine drivers Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. On to all the weather details now, but first a look at tonight's photo of parrots. It was taken and sent to us by Ray Dennis. It was fine and mostly sunny across Adelaide today. In the city, it reached 23.1 degrees just before 2:30 after an overnight low of 13.4. Further afield, it was clear, dry across the state today. It reached a scorching top of 37 degrees in Coober Pedy and 26 in Renmark. Scattered cloud over WA's north, the interior and the NT and northern Queensland will continue to generate patchy rain and storms, while an area of low pressure should also bring a few showers and thunderstorms to our state. Elsewhere, high pressure will keep the remainder clear and dry. Around the country tomorrow, a sunny top of 35 degrees for Darwin, partly cloudy and 32 in Brisbane, 27 for the national capital and the chance of a shower or 2 for Perth. Closer to home, isolated showers and thunderstorms in the far west should extend right across the north tomorrow, remaining very warm with 40 degrees in Woomera and a top of 35 in Port Pirie. Those showers will move south tomorrow, reaching eastern parts by late afternoon. 32 degrees for Lameroo and 26 in the Mount. There's a total fire ban with extreme fire danger for the west coast, and a strong wind warning continues for the far west coast. Partly cloudy with the chance of a few showers and possible thunderstorms for Adelaide tomorrow. We're heading for a top of 30 degrees in the city after a low of 11. On the waters, east to northeasterly winds to 20 knots and seas below a metre. The sun will rise around 6:10 and set about 7 to 8. Looking further ahead, partly cloudy and 25 on Wednesday, a shower or two on Thursday and Saturday, clearing for a mostly sunny top of 27 Sunday and 28 for this time next week. That's the latest from the Adelaide newsroom. Thanks for your company. I'm Jessica Harmsen. Stay with us. 7:30's up next.